Okay, ladies, this teaching is one that either some people are super intrigued by or they don't want to know, okay? And I call this one the habits that give you away, all right? So I truly believe that when I watch you train in the gym, I can probably get kind of a good idea of kind of how you function in life, because matters of the heart and mind manifest themselves physically. So I'm going to go over just a few things that we see a lot as coaches when we start to get into group settings, when we watch people exercise, and people start to settle in and get going. Or we see it right at the very beginning. So I'm just gonna go over a couple of things. Some of you guys probably, like, if you start to feel like a little bit pissed at me while I'm talking, that might be your like flashing red light that this is like, oh my gosh, you just offended me a lot. And so it might be you. So just take these and do what you would like with them, all right? So the first one, okay, is an all-in or an all-out type of personality. You come in and you are hot out the gates, so hot out the gates for like 3 weeks, and then you're like, I don't feel all in, so I'm all out. So this has been a big struggle for me in my life, and it's just really the issue of balance. Like, if I'm not gonna exercise, I'm not gonna eat well either. And if I'm not eating well, then I'm not gonna exercise. And so trying to find the balance between consistency in these things, okay? So that's the first one. Second one, the entitled, okay? We start to see in group settings people that don't show up on time, okay? Kind of just roll into class whenever. They'll talk while the instructor's trying to teach a class. Or they'll kind of be just like wandering on the outskirts because they don't really need to know what's going on. Yet they'll probably come back and ask later what you're doing. And then also kind of just doing whatever you want, like whether, you know, the workout calls for a rest period, whether you're not resting or you are. It's really an issue of entitlements. Like, I'm going to do what I want when I want to, no matter being in a class that I've actually chosen to show up to. So we see this a lot too, especially as people like start to get a little bit more comfortable. I've been doing this for a long time, so I get to see a lot of this stuff manifest daily. So the people that never really truly commit, they're coming, but there's just really no like, I'm gonna kind of keep one foot in and I'm gonna keep one foot out, and then if I just don't really like it, then I can be out. But they're never really, they never really get started. They'll kind of start, but they didn't really start. So just not a real intentional in. And so, or they just won't start. There's people who are like, I'm gonna do this, and then they don't. I'm gonna do it, and then they don't. I'm gonna show up, and then they don't. So, you know, yeah, it's really fear-based, as most of these are. Control. This type of person will probably never miss a lift with a 1 rep max. I talked about this before. Never quite go far enough that it gets maybe a little bit scary. Like, really never really emptying your tank because you don't want anybody to see that you are out of control, or that you might not have a perfect facade where you never really get tired. And so you'll just kind of hold back enough and stay just at a point where this isn't really that hard, and I'm fine. Because if you took it a notch heavier, you add a little bit of weight, you might not be able to do it. And so there's just a root of fear, and that people will see that you're not perfect. Okay, comparison of others. As we start getting into group classes and we maybe are doing workouts for rounds or for time, where you know you're going to do something as quickly as you can, or you're going to do a certain amount of weight, or you're going to go as heavy as you can. We did this as well with the deadlift. Comparing yourself to other people. So you might come in and see that this happens a lot with CrossFit, where you come in and everybody's names are on the board from earlier in the day, and you see people's times and you know the people that you can kind of stay around. So you'll just find that person and know the time that you need to beat for that day. Instead of saying, what is my best? I'm just looking to beat somebody or to beat this specific person. So those types of people will never actually know what they're capable of, because they only stay a little bit above this person. They'll never really go. They'll just go just enough to beat you, right? So as well as lifting, you know, okay, I got 5 pounds more than them, but you may have had 25 to 30 pounds more in the tank. So comparison being something that we do see. So there are the loud and dramatic people that exercise that are really like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, or like just very dramatic when they get tired, or they're like, and it's just, we all know you're there and we see you, we know you're doing well. We haven't forgot about you, and we know that you're giving forth effort. But that's kind of what happens too, is people get really loud, and you just stop and say, you know what, I see you. I see what you're putting in. And so that desire for affirmation and validation in the effort. The cheaters, these are just people that they just cheat. Like, you're supposed to do 15 reps and they do 10, or they do just a couple under, or they're not quite sure where they were, so they'll just say like, I think I'm fine. And it's just a facade. Like, people will cheat to keep on the top of the board or for the fastest time, so that, again, they feel better about themselves, and it offers them affirmation and validation in their performance. But again, most of the time the cheaters give themselves away. Most of us coaches, we know who the cheaters are, which is just a really big bummer, because it's really them that's the one missing out, because there's no medals here. So there's also, when we get into things that might be for rounds, or where we're not just working for a certain time period, sometimes people will actually get in a habit of finishing last, because when you finish last, there's more people standing around to cheer and to push. And so there might be different reasons, like whether you need a little bit more motivation, or you really like the attention, or you want people to feel bad for you because you are last. And so some people actually get into a rhythm, and they will find themselves last all the time. And sometimes, like, they're just a little bit slower. Like, if there's a run and you're a super slow runner and you know that you're gonna be last, that's different, right? But there's some people who will literally like hold back what they're capable of so that they can be the last person finished, so that I've got the crowd standing around me, people feel bad for me, and are like, come on, you can do it. And so there's that. And then the not quite there. So, all right, guys, we want you to run to the cone and back. And you kind of go sort of to the cone, or you kind of go to where you're supposed to go, or you carry it just right before you're supposed to get there. So it's just the not quite there. So it's another way of cutting corners of, like some friends of mine have a gym in Kona, it's called Respect the Corners. So not cutting corners. And so every single one of those things tend to manifest themselves in life as well. So that was just, that was just a free little lesson. So anyways, these are some of the habits that give you away. What are yours, and what can you do